So today Games Workshop have dropped an absolutely massive document of Forge World Legend datasheets. Let's take a quick skim through what's there, what's missing, and a few interesting details. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, the strategy focused 40k channel, where we've been taking a look at the Imperial Armour Compendium over the last week, and now we have the other counterpart to it, the Forge World Legends rules. The idea is that if Games Workshop aren't supporting a miniature in their main game anymore, they'll give it a final datasheet in Warhammer Legends, give it a power level and points cost, but then it won't be recommended for competitive play anymore and they won't be considering it as part of the main game. It is always a shame when models go this way, but I can see why they'd go down this path. They don't make these models anymore, and I think Games Workshop in the past would have just quietly dropped them without giving you any sort of support for the miniatures whatsoever. I do still think that it's good that they make these Legends rules for them, if the alternative is getting none whatsoever. The document itself is available on the Warhammer community website. It's a bit of a monster, to be honest. There's 144 pages worth of datasheets, and it must have taken quite a lot of time to compile. In this video we'll go through some of the main sections and talk about some of the interesting things that I noticed. I'm sure I'll have missed some interesting stuff, seeing as there's well over 100 datasheets here, so if you have noticed anything that I didn't mention, please let us know down in the comments below. In any case, let's start with the Space Marines. A good half of the Space Marine datasheets seem to be special characters that are no longer in production, and I think it's quite nice that they've included rules for characters that Forge World never made in the first place, such as Lias Isidon. The Chaplain Dreadnought gained Duty Eternal in addition to its 6+ Feel No Pain and 5+ Invul, and to be honest, in terms of rules for points, it's still looking ridiculously strong. He has only 8 wounds rather than 9 now, and he'll cost you 175 points before you upgrade him with anything like twin las cannons or something. There's a bunch of other Forge World vehicles and contraptions here, such as the Whirlwind Hyperios, the Mortis Dreadnought with its dual ranged options, which is a bit more expensive than I would have imagined for it, and some of the Land Raider variants such as the Helios and Prometheus. In addition, a few of the units return as war gear options, such as Multi-Melter and Psycannon Razorbacks, the Psycannons being for the Grey Knights of course. There's the option for Tarantula batteries to get multi-melters or assault cannons here. I don't believe that they're options anymore on the main datasheet in the compendium, and the Storm Eagle gunship's rock missiles. The Astra Militarum datasheets have honestly got quite a lot going on. Firstly, there's a couple of weird choices for things that are here that are still in production. Most notably, the one that most people care about is the Gorgon. This super heavy transporter that you can see on the top right was briefly taken out of production by Forge World, though came back later, which I suspect is why it's made its way into here rather than coming out in the main Imperial Armour Compendium. It's a bit annoying for people who own or want to buy one, to be honest, and to add insult to injury, they also seem to have missed off its transport capacity, which is kind of its key role. Honestly, it could do with a digital datasheet being released, and they should also fix its transport capacity while they're at it. The Arcurian Stormhammer is also a current kit that's sold at the moment. It's one of the Baneblade variants, and they might be saying that it's a bit more meant for Horus Heresy as opposed to current 40k. Still, would have been nice if that had been in the actual compendium. I think one of the biggest oversights in this document is the Elysian line. Elysians get their own datasheets for their Sniper Squad and Drop Sentinels, and their Valkyrie Sky Talon as well, but they don't appear to have any standard datasheet for their heavy weapons, special weapons, or infantry squads. I know you could just potentially use the datasheets in Codex Astra Militarum, but it's a bit sad that they're not able to deep strike that way, which is kind of the point of the army. The Krieg Doctrine from the compendium is reprinted here, but unfortunately the Elysians don't get any unique one of their own, which again could have been a nice touch if they'd gone down that way. It does allow their special weapon squad to take a breach charge and a las cutter, so I guess that's something. For the Death Corps, they get 5 datasheets, including Marshal Venner, the Grenadiers, the Quartermaster, the Death Rider Commissar, and their Storm Chimera. They can also take the Centaur Light Carrier, which is also available to the rest of the Astra Militarum. One thing that I think they've missed off is that there aren't any heavy stubber weapon teams. It would have been quite nice to see that in the War Gear section at least, even if they didn't have a full datasheet for Death Corps heavy weapon squads. A few of the variants of core Astra Militarum vehicles make their way into the War Gear section rather than having full datasheets. The Griffin Pattern Chimera is one of these, and it allows the standard Chimera to take a double heavy bolter as the turret weapon. The Artemia Inferno Cannon costs 20 points on a Hellhound. It's 16-inch range, heavy 2d3, strength 6, AP-1 and flat damage 2. The new version of the Conqueror turret is unfortunately quite disappointing. It's now literally just a standard battle cannon with a storm bolter or heavy stubber tacked on, though they don't have any special rules for targeting with that. The Annihilator is also here in the War Gear section, as is the Stygies Vanquisher, which got a small boost to its damage profile, gaining damage D3+3, but I'm still not sure it'll be enough to be good. Imperium-wise, that's it. Besides the Sororitas Repressor, and the Land Raider Prometheus from the Inquisition. Moving over to the Forces of Chaos now, again they have some Legends datasheets for things that are still in production. These rather unpleasant looking Plague Toads on the top right, they're still being sold, as are the Pox Riders, though they are Legends datasheets rather than in the compendium. I guess they might be wanting them to have more of a fantasy focus than 40k, though I'm not entirely sure why they decided to move them to Legends. Samus is also here, again maybe an example of a model that's more meant for Horus Heresy rather than standard 40k, and also Zuthor the Impaler, who's still present on the Forge World website, though is currently listed as out of stock. The Renegades have received a fair few more datasheets compared with the Elysians, and there's still a decent complement of units here, though a few of the datasheets are a bit simplified. They don't really have an army special rule as such, but quite a lot of their datasheets get Covenant of Chaos, which is +1 strength on the first round of melee. They no longer have any sort of uncertain worth random leadership, and they can take various options from the Astra Militarum Codex, and plenty of Forge World units as well. They don't have any Plague Zombies in this incarnation. The Malefic Lord only knows Smite, he doesn't have any unique psychic powers sadly, though a lot of the ballistic skill is a bit better, such as their heavy weapon team is hitting on 4s now, which is quite nice compared with hitting on 5s. Finally, for Xenos we have a little bit for Necrons, Orcs, Eldari and Tau. One of the most interesting things for Necrons is that the Canoptic Tombstalker is still in the Imperial Armor Compendium, though this one isn't sold by Forge World anymore. Otherwise for Necrons it's just 2 special characters and the Tomb Citadel walls. The Orcs have a bunch of their bigger old Forge World contraptions here. Probably the saddest loss for the current Orc army is the Chinook Warcopter, which is really quite an interesting transport and a different option to the Troc. It's interesting to note that Zarsnark the Ripper is in here. He's had a lot of toing and froing with his datasheet over the years. He was in the Standard Orc Codex at one point, then in the Forge World Index, and now he seems to have gone to Legends, while we still have the Standard Bike War Boss as an actual datasheet in the compendium. To be honest, I think it's quite nice that they have chosen to include him here. I don't think they really had to, as they already had technically made rules for that Orc War Boss model that's already in the Imperial Armor Compendium. For the Eldari, there's a few Corsair units in here. They have a special rule that allows them to be included in Craftworld or Cabal detachment without breaking any of their detachment rules or synergies, and they get the Reckless Abandon special rule, which means their units can heroically intervene as if they were characters. Aside from that, there's Wasp Assault Walkers, and a fair few of the older Eldar flyers, such as the Phoenix, Vampires, and the Raven. Tau again have a fairly hefty complement, quite a lot of the older datasheets that were missing from the compendium. I can't say I'm the most familiar with the Tau Forge World range, but I couldn't see any obvious surprises here. Their Hammerhead weapon options from the Fire Support and the Heavy Bombardment Hammerhead, they're both in the War Gear section again. Finally for Tyranids, they don't seem to have any datasheet for Tyranid Shrikes here. I was wondering whether those Winged Warriors would crop up here. So overall, a pretty enormous document with lots of datasheets here. As always, mixed feelings with Legends. I'm glad that they just don't remove these options from the game completely, but it's never as nice as having them keep current in-game rules. There are certainly a few issues with the document, some things which are easily fixed like the Gorgon's transport capacity. I'm not desperately hopeful for Elysian Infantry Squad datasheets or anything like that, but it would be really nice if they did come out with them. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics if you'd like to see more videos like this. And if you have been enjoying my videos recently, I would just like to quickly mention the channel's Patreon page, which you can find down in the video description below. Making all of these YouTube videos does take a fair amount of time, and if you are watching regularly, then any support is massively appreciated. The Patreon is what gives me this time to keep on making videos. Channel Patreons get a few benefits, including seeing videos early each week, regular votes and polls to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and also automatic entry into the channel's monthly prize draws. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support the channel, then the link is down in the video description below. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.